But first, now at noon, we are entering day 2 of the pro-Palestinian protests at UMass Amherst overnight. Students spending the night in an encampment just outside of the student union there. And Western Mass News reporter Wesley Days live at the university with more on how things are now going at this hour. Wesley, we are hearing from the school's chancellor this afternoon.
Yeah, Javier Reyes has updated his statement, David. We'll talk about that in just a few moments. Things have evolved here at UMass. Now, we have spoken with organizers. They tell us that even though the tents that you may remember from yesterday are down, the encampment is very much so still alive, and students with their mission to have their voices heard by their university is very much so still intact. Now, pro-Palestinian protesters at this hour are asking and pushing their school to divest from military groups tied to both the current crisis in Gaza and the school, drop the charges against the students arrested at an October sit-in, and remove UMass police from campus. Now let's talk about that code of conduct, right? Those tents came down nearly 24 hours after school officials originally told protesters that they were violating those policies. The chancellor is pleased at this hour. He says in a statement in part, quote, "I am grateful to the student activists at the encampment for their cooperation this morning, and am also deeply appreciative to the student government representatives and faculty leaders with whom campus leaders and I have consulted over the past 24 hours. This type of consultation and cooperation is emblematic of the robust dialogue and respectful exchange of views that we seek to promote on our campus." But encampment organizers, David, who did not want to be identified at this hour, tell us they aren't singing a similar song.
Although we were prepared to hold our ground, the alarmingly heavy police presence on campus and the involvement of state troopers, which was not at all announced to the students, alerted us to the fact that the administration was prepared for a much more aggressive assault on the encampment and unarmed undergraduate protesters.
Now we're told that protesters expect to be here throughout the day, and so will we. Western Mass News will be live from the protest when we return to you at 4 o'clock on ABC 40. I also want to mention something, teasing ahead to our shows tonight, that the UMass students aren't the only students on this lawn at this hour, right across from the student union here at UMass. We're talking about high school students right here in Amherst came down showing their support for the students that have been here for days at this point. David, we'll talk to them and you'll hear from them in just a little while. Reporting live in Amherst, Wesley Days, Western Mass News.